All right, it'll let me speak now. Hi, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. And next to me is Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase. Yeah.
I got something to say, Jason. I got something to tell you. I don't know if you watched the Hot Mic yesterday with John Roca and Jeff Snyder.
Nah, I don't. I watch myself. I watch myself.
Snyder went out there and told Jason Wars that his Mando 4 movie's full of shit.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. You know, he also made it. He also just cut you down a few bits, dude. He said, Yo Mando's so fat, he thought Order 66 was a combo meal. And I was like, Jeff, that's just,
wow.
You know, why you got to go there, dude? You know?
Wow. Well, like I said, I didn't say that it was happening. I didn't say that it was a thing. I said that it was a thing that they were talking about when we get there. So maybe next time Jeff should read the article.
Well, he also said Yo Mando's so fat that when he went to Camino, the whale started singing "We Are Family," and I was like, "This is just kind of personal, Jeff. I don't think you need to bring family into it." But you know, yeah.
Now I don't know what happened because you made jokes. But yeah. Well,
no, Jason, I thought it was really mean of Jeff to say all that stuff about you yesterday. So I sent a super chat, but they never read it. I said, Yo Mando's so stupid. I told him to do the robot, and now R5 leaks from behind. He didn't like it. I guess he didn't want to read that.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, on this one, Jeff is he's wrong. Just he's wrong is what it comes down to. Don't know what to say about that because I can't prove a negative, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Hey, you know, Jeff, Gary Kurtz was so dumb when he took the Pepsi challenge, he chose Jif. Yeah, that's the old joke we used to make on set, but yeah, he didn't like it.
Yeah.
Sorry about you being debunked yesterday. Yeah.
Shut up, George. It says literally half of Jason's story is just saying that it's just a rumor of discussions and nothing concrete. Yeah, it was saying if this strike happens, this is the plan that they liked when I talked to them. So, you know what I mean? But once again, then you got like big screen leaks going, this isn't happening. It's like I didn't fucking say it was happening. Read the fucking article. You know what I mean? Don't fucking let people like DM you and go, hey, is it true that this? Because no, it's not true, which is what I fucking said. But whatever. We got a new clip today from the Ahsoka series.
Well, now that that's cleared up.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Concentrate. Take in all that is around you. Let's go again.
I have reason to believe the Empire is still a threat.
We face another war. Let's begin.
Ahsoka Tano, Anakin spoke highly of you.
Get ready. Nice trick. Got any more?
Wow!
Yeah. So in that though, we there's like a moment where Sabine has like this visor on, and the visor is like going over her face. And I was on Santa's show for a little bit today, but we're talking about it. We're like,
it's the Apple Vision, right?
Well, is it like a fencer's mask? It's like a solid black thing, and you can see through it, but you can't see into it. You know what I'm saying? Like it might be like that. And so when you could take it two ways. She's fighting and she can't see anything, and she's in the dark using the Force like Luke Skywalker would have with the blast shield down, so to speak. Or it's that. Now, when she's on the floor, she looks up, she opens up the mask, and you could use that as an argument to say, oh, she can't see through it. At the same time, for dramatic conceit, you would do that anyways, because if she was just had the mask like this and was like, oh my god, Ahsoka, and talking to her like that, it would look fucking ridiculous visually. So it's not. So Aria says Star Wars just posted another video. Aria, is it significant? If it is, DM me and I'll put it on the show. But yeah, so it's like they would do that anyways. So I still feel like it's kind of it's an inconclusive kind of thing there. Does she have the Force? Is she a Jedi or whatever? And the reason that it could still go that way is you have that young guy, the robot dude. He's there behind him watching. The robot guy that gives young Jedis their lightsabers. He's standing there watching them fight, clearly with his hands behind his back, being critical and evaluating the work. Now, is she, once again, though, that doesn't fucking mean anything. And like I always say, like there's you could do math, right? But it doesn't mean that you go to MIT, right? The Jedis are going to MIT, okay? And it's like, so there's a chance that if she has that she has like a little bit of the ability. One of the things that they've kind of tried to explain over the years, and when you think back to it, when Dave Filoni was saying like Han Solo uses the Force, when he's flying the Millennium Falcon like that, he's using the Force, but he's not using it the same way that a Luke Skywalker uses it, who's fucking totally adept at it. They're tapping into the same thing when they're doing this thing that they love or that they're all about. But it's not like, Luke is a Jedi. Han Solo's not. He's not. He can never be one, probably. Well, this right here, when he's saying that, that's back when they're working out this character. That's when this character starts training to use a lightsaber and stuff. So it's like, you know what I mean? So I'm just of the opinion that this is like an inconclusive fucking thing right here. It doesn't sway one way or the other. It probably means that she's on that path. It might be something that they haven't even decided on. It might be something that they're filling out. Now, in my opinion, the opening of the show is likely going to begin with the 2 Jedi mercenaries attacking the Republic, getting the magistrate out, breaking her out of prison. When we see, him fighting in that hallway, they bust her out. Then the Republic calls Ahsoka Tano and is like, "There's people with lightsabers that are fucking us up. Like, what do we do? Help us." And that's probably when Ahsoka is called in. And then in that process, Sabine is brought in. They realize they're dealing with a ex-Jedi and a Padawan. And then Ahsoka is wants the help, but probably can't just bring Sabine right in. Can't just bring Sabine right there. Go fight a Padawan. You're ready. She's not. So she's had Darksaber training with Jedi Knights in the past. And so that's probably what that is getting her ready for this attempt to arrest those Jedi, or to arrest, what's his name? Or her name, Shin. So that, I think that's where this is likely going. And I don't think it's necessarily like a Jedi Master kind of situation necessarily. I don't know for certain one way or the other. Like, the earliest stuff is the stuff I'm gonna have the most ambiguity about. And it seems to me that when she says master, it's very facetious. So I think it's about combat purely. It's purely about arresting those guys and stopping them or something like that. I think it makes the most sense. But let's look back at the clip one more time, and then, with that in mind, and let me know what you guys
concentrate. Take in all that is around you. Let's go again.
I have reason to believe the Empire is still a threat.
We face another war. Let's begin.
Ahsoka Tano, Anakin spoke highly of you.
Get ready. Nice trick. Got any more?
Is evidence for that is that we now have the conclusive proof that both Ahsoka takes on the Inquisitor and that Sabine is fighting on Corvus at the same time. We always saw them separated. We always saw that there were 2 things going on there, that they were in the same location, but we had no idea. They could have been 2 episodes apart. It could have been different times in the story. That, you know what I mean? But we see in that fight right there, they're actually dueling at the same time. Now, and I'm also just going to throw it out there. When they're fighting there, Ahsoka's fighting the Inquisitor, I believe. And then Sabine is fighting Shin, the Padawan. And so when we have that right there, I'm going to guess that Baylan shows up, probably, maybe for that. And then, And then one other thing too is it also confirms the old scoop that I had about how they filmed the Mon Mothma scene twice. Once and at the end it was cut from Mandalorian 3 because it was redundant because it happens in Ahsoka as well. And that's where you can hear her when she talks to what she says about she believes that the Republic is in danger kind of stuff. So that right there, if you think back to that time, that's basically that scene. So yeah. And then I don't know though. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they had her become a Jedi in the big picture. Luke Skywalker has like a whole school of Jedis, of Jedi people that he's going to need, that they're going to need to populate that with eventually. And if they kill them all the time, or they just don't become anything because we don't want them to exist, well, then what's going to happen? Like, how are they going to be there? How are they going to fill that up? Thank you for the super chat. Concho says, Grogu has to be the next Mandalorian Jedi Force user. Please leave Sabine as she is, a kick-ass Mandalorian. Yeah, I mean, on one hand, when you do look at it that way, it is kind of it is very much like the same kind of idea, right? But at the same time, kind of the opinion that Sabine might be that idea realized, as in the current generation of the story. I'm going to throw it out there before episode 9. I don't think Grogu becomes a Jedi at this time. I think it's just because he'll likely have to die, or to be complicated. It'll require a lot of like just bending things around, you know what I mean, to make it work. But when you get down to the fact that the guy lives to be, 800 years old, and his problem, why he's turned down to be a Jedi, is that he has attachments. He has an attachment to his father, to Din, to the Mandalorian. Well, when the Mandalorian dies, I mean, he's in his late 40s or whatever, right? So, like in 30 years, at about the time of episode 9, he's going to naturally die, a natural death. And at that point, I guess you could make the argument that Grogu would have made more attachments and connections, but he's still like as old as Luke Skywalker is in Yoda years when he decides to become a Jedi, when you get down to it, like in the big scheme of things. So I would not be surprised if that's how the story goes. And then that way we're able to remove Grogu from dying by Kylo Ren, from all of that kind of stuff, and then have him emerge in the aftermath of an episode 9, even in the Rey film. Like, that's something else that's, hasn't really been considered before. But if Rey's starting a Jedi Order, Grogu probably fits there better than he does there. But once again, I don't think that'll happen, because I don't think they've wrapped up the Mandalorian arc of the storyline of where they want it to go. But it could still happen. They could still say we want that little fucker in the movie. And, they'll have to figure it out, but he would be aged up, obviously. Probably like a cool little mohawk.
Yeah, but every time he talks now, he just says, "I am Grogu." Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, thank you for the $6.99 super chat again. Conchu says, Tar Vizsla was the first Mando Jedi over 1,000 years ago. That's what makes the Grogu arc as unique as Tar. It's super rare. Yeah. But I mean, I get it. I mean, I know where you're coming from on this, but when Lucasfilm has a good idea that they think's a good idea, it tends to get used by different creators in different ways, even though it's supposed to be rare or whatever. They just tend to do it. I mean, even down to the idea of, oh, it's an evil robot, and it, like what they get on these like little kicks. But what we're seeing on
Toothy
this Toothy Sarlacc. But what we're seeing on this one is like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to some extent, are have a concept, and they keep kind of going back to it. And I do feel like with Star Wars, once it's in live action, that's when it becomes the most canonized and the least likely, the most defined. But until it's there, it's like kind of like, yeah, but we can make the argument that Sabine started this first. Sabine was a character who was out in the Star Wars canon first, fighting with the dark saber, doing lightsaber training with Kanan Jarrus first. And so you could actually take it the other way and say Grogu's the fucking guy who comes second, and that he's less he's the ripoff. He's the carbon copy, not her. At the same time, I mean, if we ended up with Grogu and Sabine, two Mandalorian Jedi in this generation, then it would just be like, wow, wasn't that amazing? You know? Is it the best idea to like do it? Nah, I would rather them space that stuff out and not really go with it. But I am, like I said, I am of the opinion Grogu will not be a Jedi in the classic sense. If his father lives, if the Mandalorian should die, let's say the Mandalorian dies in the film, then I will throw up my hands and say, who knows what's going to happen. But the thing that's keeping him out of Jedi school, that's keeping him from being Ahsoka's apprentice in that thing, is his attachment. The attachment's not going to go away. It doesn't just vanish. They'd have to have like a massive falling out or something weird, and then he'd have all this anger and they'd be like, no. Anyways. So
and he turns red.
Turns into
red Grogu. Yeah.
Red Grogu. That will sell
Grogu,
more
like,
Funko Pops.
Ahsoka the gray, Grogu the red. Right? Mm-hmm. They're all gonna get colors now. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I make those jokes and then it happens, and then what, Jason? Like jokes are where I think more people accurately predict the future goofing on it than they do trying to predict the future,
Yeah, with Star Wars especially. Yeah, I'm predicting white 1970s dog shit Yoda Grogu someday. Remember like when E.T. got sick? When E.T. was dying?
Oh no, when they left him like in a puddle.
Yeah, when he like fucking drowned in the fucking river or whatever.
Yeah. Texas would just call that good immigration law, though.
Well, Sam is saying a Wookiee could be a Mandalorian. Well, for a long time, they used to say like the rule was a Wookiee couldn't be a Jedi, and then they did Gungi, and then now we've got Gungi, and then now in the Acolyte we're going to have that.
Well, the rumor in the West End days of fandom was that the Wookiees were super force sensitive. Then the Lucasfilm rule was sort of like no Wookiees or Jedis, and then all that changes. So
yeah,
I don't know what Lucas was thinking around that time.
Yeah. I mean, well, what he was going with, or like what he was developing, what the idea was, and we kind of saw it in some of the animated stuff. I think it was Bad Batch sort of dealt when it brought Gungi in, and we saw like that the Wookiees like essentially talk to the trees on Kashyyyk, and that they have their own sort of spiritual connection to the environment. And I think at one point he was taking in his mind that was going in a much different direction, almost getting at the same thing, more from like maybe like an environmentalist perspective or something. But obviously George didn't see that stuff through. Then that allowed for, things to
that, or he got that DVD set of the Monchichis, it got real
the Munchies
inspired.
Yeah. they but even like when George came up with Gungi, he was like, oh, this is rare. I could be wrong, but I think Hai Young, the droid that we saw in the Ahsoka trailer, I think he might even comment on how rare it is to see a Wookiee. And like when Gungi makes his like saber, when that droid gives him the parts, he gives him like the tree parts, and the Wookiee like carves the hilt out of wood and like kind of does it, like in the Wookiee way. So I think that might have been George going like, I'm not going to see this stuff through, and here's kind of a consolidation of my concepts, my ideas and stuff like that. Because I think he was going to do more with that stuff with weapons and stuff like that too. Because I saw stuff like about like bow casters made out of the same kinds of wood in the past and ideas that they explored. But I don't remember if anything came of that stuff at all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it did. I don't think it came of that. But yeah, so we end up with this thing where it's like once they make a rule in Star Wars, Reese can't have glasses, then it just becomes the cool idea. Well, how can I make that work? And then somebody makes it, comes up with a way to do it. So I'm kind of hoping that we don't necessarily see all of it go that way, but with Sabine, that is. But I kind of wouldn't be surprised if it becomes super popular, if it does, or if it goes that way. But also with Sabine, the other thing to consider is that she clearly has an attachment to Ezra Bridger. She's like worried about him in a way that's full of attachment, essentially. So I don't know if Ahsoka doesn't know this, or I'm gonna assume that she does, but Ahsoka can't be like, oh, you have all this attachment, let's go make you a Jedi. Like, that doesn't make sense, especially when the character's done like 2 things in live action, and one of them was say, I'm not going to train Grogu because of his attachment. But there's also a chance that when we start this out, maybe she does attempt that. Maybe she is going for that. And then maybe it becomes evident that it's a bad idea, and which would run parallel to the Grogu scene where she says no to Grogu.
Or there's no consistency, which is my bet.
In this one, there will be consistency considering it's the same writer. I think we run into those kinds of things when it's like Filoni's doing something and then you got somebody else doing something somewhere else. He's pretty consistent with himself. I would, over the years, I would say if anything, that's what he has been. But the one thing that he will do is he will reuse an idea or a concept and like elevate it to the next medium or to the next show and give it a different go. So he does kind of reuse his ideas quite often. And Grogu and Sabine being Mandalorian Jedi initiates kind of rings true to that, but I don't know how much of that Favreau came up with on his own. So could go either way there. But thank you for the $2 super chat, Mike, and thank you for being a channel member, Mike. Much appreciated, dude. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys think it's a bad idea to sit there and like sell this concept that this person's a Jedi if she's not going to be one, though? Like, isn't that setting up disappointment? Like when the whole fandom who loves Rebels and is like, a lot of people now have kind of grown up with Rebels in their like little Star Wars journey, and they're like, oh yeah, and then they're like teasing, oh, guess what? That character you loved, she's going to be a Jedi now too. And then you're like, oh shit. And then you watch the show and she's just like, no, I'm just training a sword fighting like I did in the cartoon. It's like, if they do that, though, I do think it's a bad idea. I mean, it doesn't seem smart to me to like push that concept forward. But Dave sometimes does do stuff outside of the box, and that would be that kind of thing in the marketing. Just fucking probably wants to sell the idea that there's Jedi in this shit. You know what I mean? Like, they love Acolyte. Acolyte's gonna be a big deal. And Acolyte, why is the Acolyte a big deal? Partially because it's able to sell this Jedi concept. For real, though. Like, this one is having to sell like, I'm Ahsoka. I was a Jedi, then I quit because they were fucking idiots. And then it's like, this is Sabine. She's not really a Jedi, but she could use a laser sword. And then this is Shin. She's a Padawan, but not really. She's a for hire kind of thing. And this is Balin. He's a Jedi master, but not really. He's an Order 66 survivor. Now he's just a merc and has a Padawan that's a merc too. They're not really Jedi though, And then and those lightsabers, they don't really have kyber crystals in them. They're battery powered, now. That's why they're orange. So anyways, you end up getting like this, like everything sort of like the alt version. You know what I mean? Like the alt version of the primary. No. What?
Not the alt.
Yeah, it's what it is. I mean, it's like, you can't be a Jedi. Okay, what are you then? Oh, I'm like a Ronin, and you know what I mean, who goes around doing good, and then everything but nothing is specifically like the actual thing in this show, but they still have to sell it as such. So that's why I don't know from the marketing itself just how to like ascertain what any of that stuff means. Because
it means JJ made a colossal mistake creating a sequel trilogy where we're right back to square one with no Jedi.
Yeah.
Could have just solved all this by just getting on with having Jedi and moving on with it. But we're all stuck back in this weird reboot hell that they got to figure a way out of.
Yeah, if I were in charge of that, or especially the next era, the post-9 era, I would have it where like regulation is just an issue, and that there's these dark side people all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like all over. Dark side, good side, they're all over the place. Nobody could stop it. There was nobody to pump the brakes on that, and now here we are. Jonesy says Sabine and Ezra didn't end up together because Dave wanted Ezra and Sabine to serve an example that two people of the opposite gender can share a bond without having a romantic relationship. And that is, he said that there was obviously, that's one of the things about Rebels. Like, we tend to look back at Rebels as being Dave's thing. It's Dave's thing. But it was a Kinberg thing. It was a Wiseman thing. It was a Filoni. Like, there was a lot of people involved in bringing that show like to life and competing ideas. They clearly ended up not making, like, the first time Ezra meets her, he's interested in her, and then we kind of go on from there. And what they're showing in this trailer, though, it could be romantic, but it could just be like a family. It could just be like, that's like my brother. Like, I fought in the war with that guy for years, and he's back behind enemy lines, and we haven't gone to get him. So it could just be that. But either way you cut it,
still attachment. Doesn't have to be romantic.
It's still attachment. That's where I was taking
Grogu and Din aren't like romantically involved.
Agree to disagree. No, yeah, you're right. No, it's true. Yeah.
It'd be so disturbing.
he's like one of those feeders. He's like feeding him like all kinds of frogs and soup and stuff. But it's like, so then Meg says Sabine is not force sensitive. Ahsoka just needs numbers and is training her friend who already knows how to use a lightsaber. And I think that's like the most pragmatic approach. Totally. Oh, by the way, today, Meg, I watched your video today, and Meg is too nice to the dumbest people in the fandom, I will say. After I watched this video, I was like, man, Meg's being super nice to these people today. There's like people who believe that they will just shelve Skeleton Crew. And I was just like, come on, Meg. Come on. I was like, there is no, Skeleton Crew is the most expensive US Star Wars production of all time. Anybody who thinks that has shit for brains. I mean, like, truly, it's like
we live in the post Zaslav singularity now, right? Where anything can be canceled for a tax refund. You know,
you can actually do the math on it and just clearly see why it would be a bad idea. And in the like Zaslav sort of thing right there, they were overpaying on something that they wouldn't see a return on when they were hemorrhaging. Like, they didn't have the money. They didn't have money. They didn't actually have the capital to spend on things.
Barbie cash.
They were, well, yeah, they were like hoping on like certain films being successful so they could do the marketing on other films. That's how fucked. But Disney never got to that place.
Think about this for a second. Just think about this for a second, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. If Warner Brothers hadn't pissed off Chris Nolan, right?
Yeah.
And forced him to leave, they would have had Oppenheimer, but then they never would have put Oppenheimer the same weekend as Barbie. So Barbenheimer never exists without Zaslav or the guy before him, right? The HBO Max guys cut, like, no one's really talked about that, right?
Yeah.
This all changes. Like, and then does Barbie make $1 billion? Maybe it makes like 500-600 million, because it does well, but does it get the meme thing? Right? Like,
oh yeah,
because you don't get Barbenheimer, right, without Nolan leaving. Like,
well, and that's always one of those things too. Like, on the Barbenheimer thing, like, it clearly mattered. It clearly helped it. And would love to see somebody smart do some sort of bit of analysis that actually, like, how much did it help it? To what degree? Because I was going to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, whether there was Barbenheimer or not. And
But you
I
wouldn't get
know
the challenge on the same weekend. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
no, I
Warner
know.
Bros.
No,
never would have released 2 films at the same time.
yeah,
So that's
yeah, exactly. No, but I'm just saying I've just always been curious, like how much did it help? Because like remember the Morbentine one, like all the people who turned that into a meme and like were like gonna go see it, nobody went to see it. They put it back in theaters thinking that the meme was gonna work. No, but
here's
that
the difference.
and I
Here's
know
the
what the
difference,
difference is. I know the difference. Yeah.
No, but
Go
I'll
ahead.
tell you. I'm going to give you a slightly different take on the difference. The difference
Okay.
is, I never heard of Morbin Time until Kevin Smith brought it up. It didn't break through. I don't have
Yeah.
popular meme stuff on my socials. It's mostly
Right.
so like for things to break through. I feel like they really have to hit some kind of like normal person zeitgeist. So I didn't hear it until Kevin Smith brought it up. But the Barbenheimer thing was like in all my normies socials
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. No. And what do you call it? It mattered for what do you call it? What's those little yellow guys? The Illumination Company, little
Minions.
guys. Minions. The last Minions movie had a big weekend because people got dressed up fancy and actually did it. Like it did actually impact it. So it's like on that one, like we know it did, and then we get to the drop off. I think after the memes weekend and stuff, and so yeah, it's like that's why I'm just like super curious. Like I would love to see like some like I said, there's ever any kind of like market analysis on it that seems to be good. I'd love to read it. But Meg asks, wow, is that true? It's that expensive? It is. It's the most. I'm not saying it costs more than Andor or anything like that. I don't even have like a specific number. Bespin Bulletin and myself both heard that it was more expensive than the other shows. And and when you just look at, I mean, imagine having Academy Award winning directors on your show and just being like, we're just gonna fucking throw this one away. Like when we want to take that Zaslav reality into effect, chances are the Batgirl movie was shit. Chances are it was
Post
going to be
Zaslav
shit.
singularity.
Yeah. Chances are, though, it was going to not be a good film or it was going to be a hard sell. And like right now, like everything that one, the Green Knight director, the fucking Everything Everywhere All at Once directors, it's Goonies and space. Like that show has absolutely no reason to not be content on Disney Plus, especially post strike when there's absolutely going to be a content drought. Right? I mean, makes sense to me, anyways.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Rob?
I just wonder if good or bad wasn't what they were looking. Because I don't think Zaslav. He came out there and said Flash was like the greatest superhero movie he'd ever seen. So I don't know good or bad. I just wonder if the bean counters went and said, "Hey, this is going to bring no new subscriptions, so we could." Do this little trickery to skim a couple extra bucks off the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't agree with the whole new subscriber thing because it's like clearly Disney realizes maybe keeping them is more important than pushing solely for new. But I do think it was probably something more like that because I don't think they care about quality one way or the other. I mean, no offense, Black Adam wasn't winning Oscars, like.
Oh yeah, no, it was a fucking terrible movie. I mean, I'm of the opinion that David Zaslav is a fucking idiot and he just throws shit at the wall. Then when it works out, he pats himself on the back, but
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, I believe he will make the money. Like the company was in the position to just spend a bunch of money, make a bunch of content. It was like an arms race. And it's like one of those things where you either win the arms race or you kind of become like the Soviet Union in the Cold War and you fall apart. And that's what they were all doing. They were all in a content arms race for a couple of years, but now they've all done like an armistice. They've all decided let's all band together and fuck the consumer together. And they're like high-fiving Zaslav because he's the one who I would say is the brains behind it. Let's replicate cable. That's the idea. And but point being, anybody who number one thinks that any of the Star Wars shows that are done right now are going to get thrown away. Anybody who thinks that they're not an important part of Disney are crazy. Like you have they have no idea how dumb they sound and how wrong they are. And with some of that shit, that's probably why Snyder's like, oh, I know that's wrong. because he probably knows some other things, you know what I mean, that are going on. And so that's why he's like, that's not the plan. But I'll tell you, if that fucking strike goes on for another year, or goes into it being like a year-long strike, watch that plan come to fruition.
I was being facetious a bit with Snyder in the way his tone. I was just trying the way fans would take it. I did find it funny because he was like, it's just not going to happen that way. He was kind of nonchalant about it.
Okay.
But then Rogan goes, really? Because some people were saying it was definitely going to happen. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was the thing I definitely said was not going to happen. I said this is something that they are talking about, you know,
contingency plan, like,
but also like, I don't like to go too far into like sources and stuff like that. But let's just say, would Kenobi season have not been fucking me pointing towards the stands over and over and hitting grand slams on it without these people? The answer is no. So that's why I'm fine with running that report for what it was. And there's a lot of other things that could be hitting right now, but that kind of shit, and I don't mean like from Jeff and Roca, I mean like from the fan base itself, who don't read the fucking articles correctly on purpose, or the content creators who just want to like make explosions, you know, for attention and gratification. They're fucking themselves right now, because there are some fascinating things that we could be talking about right now. And I just don't think the people who could do it want to deal with the headache because of the idiots, because they know how it will be molested, you know what I mean, and contorted into something that it's actually not. And also, people don't seem to understand that we're in a very fluid situation at the moment, like across the board with this, you know. So Jonesy says, my hope is Star Wars making Azatru get married in a random church in Vegas. Azatru wearing a Padawan braid and a Battlefront t-shirt. Meg putting her hair up like Leia. Would be the best wedding ever. Until
Meg would have to give Azatru away. That would be the deal, right? She'd walk him down and be like, give him away.
Yeah.
More canon. Yeah.
No, until Meg's girlfriend comes up and fucking elbows Azatru and is like, you're still my lady. And oh shit, Azatru.
Meg's girlfriend comes running into the chapel like the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh shit.
SummerSlam 91, right? Yeah.
Like the fucking Bushwhackers.
Yeah. Yeah, DDT's Azatru, right? And then just shakes the ropes. Then
I'm like, get him to the chopper. Get him to the chopper.
No stamina. Right. No
stamina. Meg said, I saw someone say under an MSW article, I'll wait until redacted YouTuber confirms this. Hey, you know what? That's the way to do it right there. Let the people who read my articles or Bespin's articles and then comment on them confirm it. Yeah. We live in a world with a lot of information illiteracy, I guess you'd say. Azatru's just like, what's going on here?
See, Azatru, we write Azatru fan fiction when we're bored. That's what we do.
It's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what else was there? Oh yeah, I got this today. I know this is completely anecdotal, you know, it doesn't mean anything or whatever. But when I was out today, I was running some errands, and I saw the Ahsoka buses 3 times in 3 different areas. And might not be a big of a deal. Might just be a coincidence. I may never see them again. But when it was the Mandalorian, it took a long time to see the Mando bus. Mandalorian 3, had a hard time finding it. Had a hard time finding the Indy buses too. So I feel like
found that one that was seemed wrong. Remember, like it was. Like...
oh yeah, that wasn't me though. That was like somebody on Reddit. That was funny.
That was the best.
Yeah, it was like it was just like broken English in the end because of like the way that they all fit together.
Oh, I love it.
But you know, we're still a little ways away. You know, we're close, but we're not, you know, the day of or anything. But I was at the mall and I saw like in stores like Hot Topic and might have been Claire's or something. They had
wow.
they had like you know how like when you like walk into a store, there's like the little standee, and then it'll have like a picture with like the sale or something, like a little sign kind of thing that they pick it up, they can move it. There was ones with like Ahsoka on it. They were super boring. It almost looked like it was just this picture zoomed in on her face or something. It wasn't, it wasn't that exactly, but it was like it. But I still haven't seen any giant billboards for Ahsoka, but I did see three separate buses today all pop out with it. So maybe we're gonna see a bunch. Arya says she saw a poster at a bus stop that hasn't gotten any buses for 10 years, laughing my ass off, and no human is around that bus stop. When Indiana Jones 4 was coming out, I was in a similar situation, and I had been drinking, and my drummer was driving the car. We were coming home from a show or something, and I saw the Indiana Jones, and I'm like, I want that poster. And I just fucking walked up and I fucking kicked it. Like I got out of the car, walked up and kicked it, and it just opened up. Like it's just open. I had a giant like wall sign, like the size of the whole wall poster for years of Indiana Jones running from like the natives, in Indy 4. It's a good poster. It's pretty cool. But so Arya, I'm not selling you to do that, but I'm just telling you, you're definitely making me go, that's what I would do. But yeah, so they are pushing Ahsoka content out. And like I saw like probably as much stuff like the Haunted Mansion. They didn't go really balls out on that either with the marketing, I don't think, at least not in my area. So right now, just day one. Today feels like day one anyway, as I've seen like pretty much Haunted Mansion levels without a theatrical release. Lobo, thank you for being a channel member, Lobo. Always appreciate it. If I haven't thanked you guys for being channel members recently enough, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. He says he saw an Ahsoka billboard with a lit lightsaber in North Hollywood the other day. Oh shit, that's cool. If you grab a picture of it, don't crash your car or anything. But if you grab a picture of it, send it our way and we'll check it out on the show, because I haven't seen that yet. I haven't been to Hollywood in a little while. Might be going tomorrow though, so I'll look for it. But no, Arya, I heard you say that. Is the new video? Is there anything new in it, or is it just like masters, apprentices, girls, boys, cats, and dogs living together? Yeah. Doms, bottoms, I mean, I don't know what is it good?
Thrawns and pawns, right?
Yeah, Thrawns and pawns. But here, I'll try to covertly not kill my computer and go over to the what do you call it? And Meg, I hope I didn't come up picking on you. You were dealing with the discourse out there.
And pawns. Right,
and
like
pawns.
The bat, the cat, the finger, right? Zons, Thrawns, and pawns. Yes,
that seems fair. Okay, so I see Star Wars did Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka in 30. So if that's it, I mean, I don't know. I'm curious. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause it. All right, hold on. I'm gonna share it. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it live.
All right, let's see.
Is this what you're talking about, Arya? Because it was rare. Okay, we got Ahsoka doing Looney Tunes. Thank you, Arya. Back in the day, Dave Filoni, he used to be like, yeah, Jedi can like cut perfect circles. Like he did this whole thing like back in the day, trying to like justify his perfect circle cutting. Like it was pretty weird. I thought it was funny though. But now we see it here in live action.
He's stuck on this.
He loves it. He loves the fucking perfect circle Jedi cut. All right, here we go.
When Ahsoka runs through a wall, is it cut out like the shape of her head too?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Wow, that's corny. Fucking quitter. Man.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a great Jedi was forced into battle. Her name is Sabine. She started as a Padawan to Jedi Master MakingStarWars.net. Yes, the chosen one, who eventually became Darth Vader.
They're gonna do this before the show, like every episode.
Yeah, this is how it starts.
Yeah, this is the new opening crawl. Right?
Yeah. How much Adderall is she on right now?
Enough to become president.
Hey, it's Chopper. Hey, I saw the butt. I like the butt. I ain't gonna lie. I like that butt. That's a good light. That's a good speeder bike butt. But yeah. All right, cool. You know, that's it's not for us. Like clearly, like that's not for us. That's for, you know, your mother-in-law or something. You know what I mean? It's for your like casual Disney person that's like, I collect everything with Disney on it and watch it all, you know, but I don't know what time it is. And so that I guess that would get you caught up. That's the kind of thing that would probably play well, like if people still watched the Disney Channel, you know, like that would be a good ad for people's moms to know what's up, and their dads, their old dads and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we watched it, so we gave, you know, but I don't know. I don't know how that, I don't know how videos on StarWars.com's YouTube channel permeate into the mainstream.
All I know, man, is there's so many well-educated graduates in media that it's like this is the best we can do here. There's nothing more, like, I don't know. Like, who knew who really? Do you think the mass populace knew who Oppenheimer was? Most of them don't even know what a Homo sapien is, right? Somehow they get that across in the marketing. And
Listen,
here, I just don't know.
Listen, DeSantis is fighting, so we don't have to hear words like that anymore. Thank you. But
yeah, too busy wearing boots.
The little Daisy Duke with the little Daisy Duke. You know that guy puts boots and Daisy Dukes on. You know he does it. He walks around the house and sounds like
I'm just one of the boys wearing my heels.
Yeah. Sam the Sham says, I'm subbed to the Star Wars channel and just learned about a new Star Wars show. Yeah. That's kind of kind of how it goes. It's like, on one hand, if you were only subbed to the Star Wars channel, a lot of their content isn't for me, obviously, and some of it is very cute stuff, and I don't have any problem with it. You know, I'm not a huge High Republic guy, but the High Republic show I think it does a good job of doing what it's supposed to do and trying to build enthusiasm for that sub brand or whatever. But
less
yeah,
people think
like,
I'm just being mean to like Lucasfilm or some naysayer.
You're just mean.
Who do I think doing it
the
best?
To Santa Claus, dude. You're mean to Santa Claus.
Who's doing it the best, Rob? Rob, if you had to choose who's doing it the best, right? I'm going to tell you
whoever to Santa Claus the best. Definitely Rob.
That's always me. Yeah. Look, lost my mom on Christmas. Me and Santa got words. All right.
There you go.
You know, so I've never gotten over that.
Yeah.
I wanted a Metroplex. I got orphanage. You know what I mean? So like that's how that works.
We need to befriend Hanukkah Harry's Star Wars Hanukkah Harry. We need him. We need him to come because I think maybe you get along with him more. Because like it was like the days before your mom left, so you're like, oh, those are the good days, you know.
I just got a Voltron, Jason. The last time I had a Voltron was that Christmas. I lost the Voltron, so that's how long I'm slowly recuperating. But let me tell you who I think is doing it the best. Who's ever in charge of marketing the Spider-Verse films, 1 and 2? Because how do you explain all them crazy characters, who isn't Peter Parker, all this stuff, and they get it across perfectly acceptable in a fun, fresh, unique way? And that doesn't mean copy it to become like them. That's not what I'm saying. Like, don't become like, no offense to the Turtles movie, don't try to become Spider-Man. That movie wants so bad to be Spider-Man and not Turtles. It's hilarious to me. Yeah. But
I'm there for it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. The
big picture.
Sure, Spider-Man with ninjas. All right, you can't take the ninjas out of it. I refuse to believe that. But I think they're doing it the best. Period. Yeah. You know, and it's shown in the way that the first film made a certain amount of money. The zeitgeist took hold. They kept the clever marketing through all the home video releases and the streaming. And then that culminated in a much bigger one the second time. And that, probably with the third one, it'll be even bigger than the second, to be honest with you. So, like, I think they're doing it the best, and that's just Disney marketing as a whole to me. Whether it's a Transform, it's a Star Wars thing or a Marvel thing or a freaking Geppetto thing. None of it's like gotta see that. I think the
Hey,
best.
us Geppetto files are looking forward to that next Pinocchio
I was
movie.
critical of Avatar's trailers. I was like,
Mhm.
when we getting on with the? I know there's battles in this. It's James Cameron. When we getting on with that? Like,
do you think there's people who love Pinocchio that call themselves Geppetto files? That's the thing.
But no, but I know for a fact Iger calls them Pinocchidopes. Because it costs them $250 million.
Paul at the Comic Binge says that Apple episode was fire even before my shout out. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we got a lot of nice comments on the Apple discussion that we did. Thanks, Paul.
We did. I thought people would be annoyed.
No, we got a lot of actually more than usual, more positive comments on that episode. Aster2 says the trailer and stuff gets on trending. Most people or most YouTube users don't use Subbox but use recommended. Yeah. So yeah, maybe it does get pushed out to a bunch of them. I have no idea, but he says
that gets
it
them
just
to
sucks.
subscribe. No. Okay, here's the thing: you can explain something to someone and go, "Here's what all this means," but that means, I gotta go plump down $15 2 weeks from now to go see this. I don't know. That's not. It's not the same. Yeah, you are explaining it, and yeah, you are getting it out to people that don't know what it is. But does that make them want to line up to go to drop money down on a service that they're not currently getting to go see it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. Like if I had to put my money on it.
Well,
but I'm not
like
the best at
right now, what I think it has going for it is the fact that there is no Star Wars in theaters. So if you want your Star Wars fix, it's the only place to get it. And that was by design originally. It just wasn't supposed to go this long. We were supposed to be happening to this year. So
yeah, that's true. The marketing for House of Dragon was pretty good too, right? Like when you look at the numbers, like it did attract people to go and subscribe to something they weren't subscribing to before.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, it's because it's Game of Thrones. I'm like, yeah, but it could have been boring as Game of Thrones. They did their job. And I just don't know if that's happening right now.
Oh, it's definitely a good show. It is. It's just that it's like one component of Game of Thrones and not the totality of the epic of Game of Thrones.
I know.
That's where
that dude just refuses to write the books. He just wants to write timelines now. He should come over to Star Wars. They're fascinated with timelines. He could write timelines.
I like all those videos of him like eating that people get. Like he's always eating really good food. And I'm like, what? I
gotta
don't do it
get him
either.
And Lucas eating together at a mall.
Well, and it's like Lost. When you write the end of something, no one's gonna like it. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. It doesn't matter. Like nobody likes the endings. Nobody wants a good thing to end. So just keep eating yourself to death. Have a good time. Enjoy your life. That's what I would
Pizza
do.
the Hut, Jason. You're talking about Pizza the Hut.
Ooh, Pizza the Hut looks pretty good sometimes. I'd take a bite out of him.
What is that? What kind of? There has to be a word for people who fantasize about eating fictional creatures, right? There has to be a term. It's the internet, right?
Army Hammer. Oh no, girls are real. Sorry, they just don't talk to me. No, yeah. Altitude says just sucks that every video, especially the High Republic show, is just bottled with dislikes and hate comments. Yeah, I in my opinion, a show like that should exist. It should probably, though, not just be about the one thing. Like, I know maybe that's not feasible with their budgets and stuff like that for what they have to make that show. But that show I like the woman who puts it on, I think is a good personality for it and stuff. She doesn't seem like a fucking like librarian or something, I think she's
what it feels like to me? Because it's really, look, you can, and I've said this before, you can have a genius come up with something like Star Wars or The Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns or something that's trend-setting and changes the game. But to keep doing it over and over again gets harder and harder to do, even if it were that one person. So you got to get more people. I feel like with that show, they almost should have had some people writing that stuff and then the other people writing the other component, the Game of Thrones. And then, you know what I mean? Not tell them kind of thing, and then merge them together and then almost two separate teams, kind of focus on it. Because I doubt you're going to get a group of writers that are good at doing both simultaneously.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, as the truth says, I do see comments on like new films, shows, games, whatever, even Star Wars videos, and they're like, I didn't know this exists. Even with
Right.
major marketing, people are just ignorant to a lot. Yeah, sometimes people do fall into these like weird, like little grooves. Like there's, like I have a lot of friends who didn't know Indiana Jones was coming out. And I really don't know what else they could have done other than not released it when they did on that one at this point. Because like I said, in my area, in my theater, it was just all Indiana Jones, the whole thing. It was Indiana Jones everywhere. And it is what it is on that one, but there's just nothing that you can do sometimes to like, get something noticed when other things are going on, I think is another like side of it. But the Ahsoka one, I have more just like this is almost cynical, but I almost have more confidence in it just because of the laser swords. You know what I mean? Just like the laser sword showing up.
Right. You just show all the
Seems,
lightsabers and that'll bring them. Right.
yeah, it just seems to like kind of go that way a lot of times, and then you have your guys that are like, I just won't watch anything without a lightsaber in it. I just don't care.
It's
got a
girl with the lightsaber, so I don't watch it.
Man, come on, we love.
There's those
I mean,
guys.
if you want to be that guy, if you want to be like that macho guy, think about it. Wouldn't you like want to be the guy who, if you're that guy, that is, who like buys like Babes and Guns magazine or something? Think of it like that, right? Think of it like that. Well,
I was once developing a pinup counter called Guns and Butter. It was just yeah.
All right.
Guess what that was about?
Comic Ben says Young Jedi Adventures is fantastic. Zero irony here. Paul, I did not know you were a huge marijuana user.
He's got kids, man. It's all these people with kids that then they're like they watch it with their kids and they become sympathetic because their kid they don't want to be that dick dad. But I appreciate my uncle's honesty about He-Man when I was a kid. I didn't like it when I was a kid, but as an older one, they were honest. It was not a good cartoon. Like
no, I don't shit like when my kids are watching something, I don't critique it. I like literally keep it to myself. When you're as critical as I am, you end up going through a couple of breakups in life where all of a sudden at the end they're mad that you're like shitting on the Gilmore Girls or something, and it just comes out. You're like, you know what? It really was nothing to win by
my uncle's definitely
expressing my
things I liked.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, and no. So I'm saying
Batman's Adam West.
I've learned, but I put on Young Jedi Adventures for my kids, and they looked at me like, "What the fuck is this? Like, how fucking dare you?" Like they were not having it, dude. Like they weren't. They were just like, "This is stupid."
What next, Paw Patrol, Dad?
Yeah, and they also don't like Paw Patrol either. Even though
same audience,
me and you back the blue, and we've always said that. But my kids are.
Don't say that. What are you doing? It's true. You're behind a blue wall and Rob's a blue ghost, and you like blue aliens, and
it's like one of our favorite colors. I mean,
blue aliens. That's what we're talking about. Thrawn and Avatar and Papa Nomita, whatever his name was.
I like the blues. That's why they call it the blues. But
I don't like that song. I like the Blue Man Group. Yeah.
I think that song is hilarious. For some reason, for years I didn't know it was Elton John, like as a kid, and it was. We ended up finding a tape with it, and we'd like to put people in slow motion and play it.
I like that. I like Elton John, like here and there, like that Philadelphia song, right? I love that. But if you want to see like the one I think is his best performance ever, in my opinion, I don't care what anyone says, is if you go look at, there's a Elton John Philharmonic, they put the whole video up. James Newton Howard conducts the Philharmonic with him, right? Or the kids at the school, whatever school he went to, whatever it is, right? Orchestra school, he puts them together, and then they do, and that is really good, like, because it doesn't have any of the annoying songs, it just has like the winners, and it has a couple like things you've probably never heard before.
When I'm like in that mood, in like the good era of him, not his fucking Disney bullshit, like he kind of like though falls bottom, like way down the rungs, like when I got Freddie Mercury and I got Bowie, I agree, and I got
the James Newton Howard thing, it was really well done, the combination, and the production's great, like they sync the lights up to the stage to the performance, so like it's actually really nice.
I had like a version of Queen's Greatest Hits, like the 18,000th pressing of it, and it had like a bonus CD on it, and the bonus CD had him doing "Show Must Go On" with Queen, like in more modern times, like in the last 15 years or something, and that right there was like. I got to give him credit on that one because it nowhere as good as Freddie at all. I wouldn't listen to it for fun. But I listen to everybody else who tries to fill in for Freddie. I was like, you could tell that guy's got the chops, obviously. I mean, saying Elton John's got chops to do that is stupid, but he does.
Yeah, the dude could sing back in the day. I think though the best Queen set for a concert was the one with like all the round colored lights. You know what I'm talking about? Like it was like just like a platform full of like just lights.
Yeah.
Thought that was like their best setup.
Yeah. Yeah. Jonesy says, do you know how productions handle things like script leaks? Oh, fuck yeah, I do. Some pages from Avatar 3 were leaked. Will they change them, or are they looking at the extent of the leak, or are they going to do it anyways? So I'll talk about the Star Wars part, and then Rob could tell me what he thinks Cameron will do, because I don't know. But when it comes to over the years, nothing has ever changed with Star Wars in any meaningful way that I know of. And I'm talking like, we had a script leak all the way from The Phantom Menace. We had Attack of the Clones, whole chunks of the script thrown in the trash from the call sheets and the you know what I mean, that were like being retrieved. Revenge of the Sith had the script fucking leaked from the video game company who was making the game. Then onward, we go on and we got the stuff that I did. And I can tell you they like to pretend like it's not happening, which is the way to do it. Because when you get down to it, like if I blow up, my shit goes like as far as it goes. I'm not cracking over 300,000 readers on something. Like I never have. And but like today, like Meg might go do a YouTube video about like, oh, Yarel Poof, where is he now? And she might get 1 million views on that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I love Yarel Poof.
Yeah. Everybody who does
my favorite of
Q-tip
those
looking motherfucker.
Jedi.
But so
neck.
usually the attitude is like, just don't fucking acknowledge it, leave it alone, and just fucking let it go away. Hope most people let it linger in doubt, don't confirm. And I do think that is obviously the smartest way to go. If I retire tonight and Lucasfilm asked me, what should we do? I would say pretty much do what you're doing, because they don't need to run misinfo. Us idiots do it ourselves, just being idiots, not even on purpose. Like they don't have to.
They get better views running misinfo than the actual info.
Well, like what happens is like I'll come out, I'll drop something, then some dumb YouTuber will go take what I said and be like, oh, you know what would make it sexier? If this and that and that and that and this happened. So I'll say that's what I've heard too, and then that's what's happening. And then when it doesn't happen, I'll be able to say like, oh my God, they don't aim high enough. I'm fucking smarter and cooler. And then that will get my little cult of super chats coming at my way. And so the point being is I could say like, yeah, in this new Star Wars movie episode 4, Obi-Wan Kenobi dies and becomes a ghost, right? Well, like then they'll go and they'll be like, yeah, then he grabs the proton torpedo as a ghost and takes it right into the Death Star. Like they'll just go to town on it. So the misinfo already exists. The acknowledgement of a leak only confirms it and makes it sexier and actually helps its infiltration into other spheres it wouldn't go beyond like our little spoiler universe that we got going on here. And so yeah, for the most part, that's the way to go. Now, I'm pretty sure there was a time. So in the Force Awakens, I knew that because I had the call sheet pages for this shit. It originally opened with a hand dropping out of space, and it was Luke Skywalker's hand with the lightsaber. The lightsaber fell into a savanna, and a guy named what was his name? Anyways, he picks up the lightsaber, the lightsaber changes hands and is sold to all these different people. Okay. That was like the opening of the film, and it was going to be like, how do we get to these characters getting this laser sword and at the beginning? Well, that ended up leaking out, and and partially my fault, I believe. And I believe it was, I think anyways, I don't know, maybe he had his own separate thing. I know he was getting stuff down water for me, but Devin Faraci is the one, I think, who just put it on Twitter or some shit. And then have the gall to like you say like I was getting people fired. I didn't get anybody fired. People just were laughing at that shit. They're like, oh yeah, nobody's getting fired here. Here's what happens next. It's like, shut up. But anyways, I am of the opinion there's a possibility that the opening of the movie was something JJ was iffy about. He didn't love it, and so when it leaked out, he decided to not do it. But what he did instead was very forgettable. I mean, honestly, the opening of The Force Awakens with the ship going in front of it's fucking forgettable. It was not. The hand was a much more bold idea, in my opinion. I would have actually preferred that lightsaber being the key to the map instead of this, what that movie did in the end. So I think, maybe that even is an example of if it did change the movie for the worse. But that's the only thing I could really think of off top of my head where I'm like, they probably changed it because of that, they probably took it into a different direction for that reason. And but what do you think about Cameron? Do you think Cameron will give a fuck, change anything? Like,
people just forget,
Jason. Yeah,
people forget like they never watched the show.
Yeah,
guys, it doesn't matter. Like, and this is not me conjecturing. This is just fact. If you go listen to Light the Fuse, they had the visual effects producer on from the first film of Avatar. She confirmed the original cut of that film was like over 6 hours.
Right.
And Cameron wanted all the visual effects done for that film. Snyder's come out and said that there's a version of Avatar 2 that was 9 hours, 6 to 9 hours, and that the third film could easily be cut into a 9-hour film. There's words about that. And not Lucas, but Cameron in the editing video I was telling you about even confirmed, if you want, the one I put on the other day, it's like an hour long. It's with him and 4 of the editors. One of them's editing Avatar 3 while they're talking. You can't see that, but like he's editing the film. Was saying that with Way of the Water, that whole front end, the first act of the film could have been a whole movie with that much footage as they shot. Yeah. And they did multiple permutations where there was none of that. They made it where they didn't have any of that. They did a thing where it was its own film. They did everything they could and tested it. So there's enough footage for Avatar 3, I guarantee you, where he could cut an entire film worth of content out. You know what I mean? And it would still be plenty of movie. It does not matter.
Yeah, it may not be that important in the end. Shale says, hey, Making Star Wars, since the script for season 4 is already written for Mando 3. So right there, what I've heard is that Mando 3 he wrote Mando 3, but it wasn't done. When he was like, it's done. It's not done. Is there any chances that they can? Oh, sorry. Season 4. Mando 4. That since the script for Mando 4 is already written before Mando or at the time of Mando 3, is there any chance they can change the script and add characters when the strike is over, or is it fully done? I don't think it's actually that done. I think that they're all in like various different levels of completion. So my opinion, just my opinion, I don't think Mando 4, if the strike ends today, I don't think it films until 2024, and I wouldn't anticipate seeing it like very soon. So if I would, I would think Mando 4 is let's say years away now at this point. This possibility. Wow. It's possible, because like once again, Favreau is a guy who can start filming without things being done. He's proven it a few times with mixed results, really great and bad results. And Star Wars doesn't usually go that way. And with this show, like obviously you need environments and stuff pre-rendered, and what you need kind of a more solid plan considering the volume work that goes on and stuff like that. So I'm just looking at it right now. Like we were, Mando was supposed to be filming in October, with all of the prep and stuff pretty much going on now for like that September, October, like film dates and stuff. And obviously that's not where we're at today. And so I don't think it's going to, yeah. And the thing is like, I'm going to be honest, like, I don't think those films are going to make those dates at all. I don't believe it right now. I think it's like completely like possible, but I think that a couple of those dominoes are going to fall. And when the big dominoes fall, that's when they start pushing everything else around. The dominoes before and after.
Yeah. I want pizza. Thanks, Jason.
Pizza, that sounds good. But
not Domino's, but just pizza.
Just I'll eat Domino. I don't give a shit. I ain't a snob. Little Caesars, I'll fuck it up. I don't care. 7-Eleven pizza's where I draw the line, though. Fucking get that shit out of here. But I
got a coworker to eat 7-Eleven sushi, and he legitimately had to. He threw up. He did not. He was fine, and then
Yeah, during the pandemic, like the worst of it, me and my then girlfriend, we were just like, we're having the worst time. We're like so bored. We're like going on these like long walks, and we're like, ooh, it sounds good, sushi, right? And we tried to get sushi, but they wouldn't let us like do the approach. You had to like order like from the app and stuff, and have it like you couldn't personally do it at the place we wanted to go to. So we're like walking home defeated because we were like, well, we could just walk home and then have it like Postmate, but we didn't really want to. And then we see 7-Eleven, and all we're doing is smoking a bunch of weed because we're bored. There's nothing to do. And so I'm super stoned. I'm like, fucking California rolls, man. And she kind of looks at me like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm gonna have a good time. And I got it, and it was fucking awful. I remember just like it was like somebody took rice and a spoonful of mayo, and we're like, "Here's your sushi."
That's what they did.
That's literally probably what it was, and for the record, it wasn't even like best foods. It was like Miracle Whip tasting. It was just the worst.
Miracle Whip isn't mayo; it's salad dressing.
I know, but we don't know the difference here. Americans don't know the difference. I don't know. Does anybody
remember Bullseye barbecue sauce? Remember Bullseye barbecue sauce?
The one with like the bull on it?
Had the animated bull. Remember in the commercials? Bullseye.
Yeah. What about it?
Yeah.
Just remember
Nothing.
it?
Just remember that?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was getting a little Chris Farley.
All right.
Cool?
hey, remember when? Yeah. All right. Shell says, I don't like the idea of Mando season 4 being a movie. I like more time with the characters like a season. And that's where I'm at too, provided things are good, right? Like if we were to go and say, would you like let's pretend a 5-star season of Mando 4 or a 5-star Mando movie? And I kind of, as a fan, I go, well, I would rather have the more content at the high level. Like that's kind of where I fall on that, especially since it's begun that
I wasn't
way.
A fan of Mando season 3, so
yeah, exactly. No, and that's not a 5-star season, like, in my opinion at all. Like it's
I don't want to spend more time with them storylines or characters, so I don't know, man. Like
it's like the further I get away from Mando 3, the more I'm like just like convinced that the story ideas themselves aren't bad. But it wasn't a story that pertained to these characters. That should have been a different show. That should have been a different miniseries. And in doing so, it would have been able to, you know what I mean? No, like if it was just a Bo-Katan show, a Bo-Katan series, then we would have had more about who Bo-Katan was. We'd had more, she would have been more developed. Like I think everything would have
you would have seen her past, not her talking about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is another major complaint I have. I'm not going down the bait and switch trap. I'm saying like she just sits there and tells you about things. I'm like, she's sitting on that chair thinking we could flash to this. You know what I mean? We could cut back Lord of the Rings style and see her past. We don't have to hear her just tell us about it. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's something. It's both a strength and a weakness of Star Wars. In that, like, I watched all of Star Wars Rebels, and I'm going to be rewarded for that with this next show. But then it's also like jumping mediums. There's changes. It's like I said, it's a strength and a weakness. it definitely was worth me watching Rebels, is worth me and being invested in the characters and the time, and it's paying off. And this is like the culmination of that, the Ahsoka show. But at the same time, consistency is key for me, and that's inconsistent just by its very nature. And then he says, how much can you theoretically tell in a 2.5-hour movie? I mean, you could
Godfather.
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, like you can do. You could
Fellowship of the Ring was 2 hours and 58 minutes, Jason.
Fair. You got me. You got me, Rob. Rob got me again. You got me. No, but
totally
no,
prepared for that one.
no, it's true. Like I mean, like a lot of the stuff, like exposition, streamlining of ideas,
You
consolidating.
can do 1.5
locations.
Police Academy films, Jason. You can get Police Academies 1.5 or 2. That's
Yeah.
a lot of movie.
Well,
That's
like
a lot of
in terms of Mandalorian season 3, I believe Mandalorian season 3 would have been a better film if you consolidated those ideas. The Jack Black stuff and all that. That's some of the shit that was fun. Some of the side stuff was fun, like the sequence with the dinosaur still and the kid and shit. I like that stuff, but in a movie, it's snappy and it gets done and it does the same thing. And then you don't have all of that. Like in that instance, we had time to sit there and go like, well, why do the jetpacks run out of power when they don't run out of power over here? But if in a movie, they would just be like fucking boom, boom, boom.
It would have gone on right there. The sequence would have just continued.
It would have been like, yeah, and
all
so
in one bit,
yeah, and like when you look at like the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, it's literally a fucking film, but it was turned into 6 episodes of a show.
Yeah.
And
does Star Wars: A New Hope become a better film if you exaggerate it out to 3 hours?
No, it doesn't. No, not necessarily. And it can go both ways though. Like you could have a preference for one or the other and be right with this. Like for all we know, the Kenobi thing as a film would have been awful. That version might have just been even worse. Like it might have been, the strengths might not have been there, for instance, that are there in a film version. But yeah, I think like when something is one general idea, I think the film is probably better. I'm not saying I don't like an ongoing story arc throughout the whole season, but when it's just simply like, Bo-Katan becomes Mandalore. And that's really like the whole idea of it
for plot,
Yeah.
Like you guys are like, what ends up happening a lot of times is people don't put more story when they got more runtime. They fill it up with more plot. And you're like, that actually gets in the way of the story.
Yeah.
The story is what the characters are doing, not why they're doing it. Like I want to see people make, I like to see characters make meaningful choices with meaningful consequences, good or bad.
Yeah.
I don't care for them sitting down there and now let me tell you why all of this is important, because back when I was a kid I met and he made me feel ba 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 ba, so now I'm like this isn't helping.
Yeah, and like there's there's elements like the stuff with the scientist, and like that was a whole episode, and if execution was a little bit different, might have been some of the best Star Wars TV of all time. It wanted to be Andor, but it wasn't done by people who could do Andor. And that's where it just fell short. But like in a film, that would have been a couple of scenes of exposition and the idea would have been passed on, So but Star Wars, usually it's brevity, faster, more intense. Less is usually more.
Dude, there's plenty of story in Rogue One, man. Complete with a battle sequence and everything else. So I'm like, you could give me that version of Mando versus Mando season 3.
Yeah, and like Rogue One is a good example. If we want to just do a Gilroy, because I love Gilroy, Rogue One would have been an excellent season of TV, and it was an excellent film. So I think like almost either way in that setting with that idea,
because of the film budget, they were able to get Greg Fraser for the whole thing, versus like an episode. True. So I would rather have Greg Fraser for the whole movie versus one episode, and then watch him make all stupid cinematography for the rest of the episodes. So
yeah,
I'm being facetious. I don't think the photography is stupid, just less exciting for certain.
It's all over the place.
Imagine if the Batman were filmed by the other people in the Mando, like what would that look like?
KM22 says, speaking of Lord of the Rings, I know this is Making Star Wars and all. How do y'all rate that trilogy? I haven't been following y'all long enough to know.
I know Jason's answer.
You're not KM22. I hope we could still be friends. But I saw the
Yeah,
Lord of the
Jason.
Rings films when they came out in the theater, like each one, and I had a good time. And then when the extended versions came out and everybody was really drooling over them, I was mostly very bored, and mostly for faster, more intense reasons. And just kind of like was kind of like, come on, let's get
Well, I
fucking
think
on with this. That's where I was at with
theatrically,
it. Mm-hmm.
theatrically, the second and third films are fine. I think the first film benefits from the extended edition because when
Mm.
I didn't read the books, I wasn't interested. I don't like fuzzy underwear. Like even in He-Man, it was a hard sell. If it wasn't for spaceships, I wasn't into it.
Agree to
So
disagree.
watching
Yeah.
the movie, I went with my uncle who grew up with Lord of the Rings, right? Because he's older
Yeah.
than Star Wars and Mission Impossible shit. So
Older
that's
than
his
dirt.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and I was like, there's just feels like there's stuff. Obviously, there's stuff missing, but not enough. I mean, the movie's missing things, not because it wasn't from the book. And the extended edition felt like, okay, now all that feels complete now to me.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I think they're fantastic films. It's the fucking Hobbit movies that I think are total dog shit. Like total
those
dog
were
shit.
I walked out of that after they washed dishes for like 20 minutes. I was like, fuck, I got time for this. I just got my money back.
Yeah, it was the bird shit on the wizard. I was like, I'm not. This is what? Yeah, you're just fucking with me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is like we can give them anything, and I'm like, no, this is bull. So I had to go ask my wife at the time. I'm like, hey, that in the book? She's like, no. Like, so they thought bird shit was gonna make that guy a better character. Fuck this, like.
Yeah, my taste in film is like one of those guys who likes to be dressed up as a baby or something and shit his pants. And being dressed up like a baby and shitting his pants is Star Wars for me. That's where I can let so much slide and enjoy myself for like what it is. But for the most part, when I'm not in the Star Wars thing, I'm usually watching the films I'm usually into, and the stuff I watch isn't stuff that would be in like the nerd sphere. You know what I mean?
And I know some of this is like marketing kayfabe, but I do believe there's an element of truth to it at the very least. Is that when they were making that first trilogy, their mindset was pretend it exists. And I think for Star Wars or anything like that, you got to believe that. You can't go, it doesn't really matter. It's all blah, blah, blah. We're just going to put whatever because it's big, goofy. Like that, don't. You got to believe, even if it's a fantastical world, that the world is real and tangible. That's the kind of Star Wars I like the most. When I can, like, that's why I love about Andor more. Even if I wasn't paying attention to the story, I feel that exists. It feels tangible, even as fantastic as some of the concepts are. Rogue One, it's the same thing for me. And especially the opening of The Force Awakens is when they get off, by the time Starkiller Base shows up, I'm like, well, it's a big cartoon, but I really felt Rey on Jakku felt real, like it felt like a tangible.
Yeah. We had moments with her breathing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like living.
Yeah.
And yeah, we need that. And that's important. And doing that when it's not boring is hard. That's why they don't do it a lot,
That's why that's why they get paid the big bucks though, Jason, to figure it out.
That's why you're JJ Abrams, motherfucker.
But now we're gonna pay them AI bucks, and you're just gonna get shit out whatever happens. Vending machine Star Wars is gonna be really great, Jason. Can't wait.
Vending machines are good sometimes. He goes on to say the problem with Mando's before the season starts. I know all the good guys are going to be okay by the end. I feel there are zero stakes. We know Grogu and Mando are going to be fine.
It's not here, but I have this problem too. I don't think it doesn't matter if they're going to be okay. Emotionally, they should be changed. You don't have to kill people, lose an arm, lose a leg, murder people to make it interesting. That I totally. No one dies in A Few Good Men. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like
Willie does before the movie starts.
You're right. I mean, if you ask me how either of them are really that different by the end of the season, it's like Grogu has a couple of moments of growth in terms of just like learning to be a warrior and self-confidence. But other than that, they are very much the same people. Even what's her name getting the Darksaber, it breaking, sort of becoming the leader of Mandalore again, and all of that stuff. There is a status change, but same person probably, not necessarily changed, not very much anyways. And yeah,
and if it was
that's
all up to whether someone lived or died, you'd get bored with that by the third time they do it. It's like a
yeah.
Marvel movie when you're like, oh, the fate of the world again. That's not the
But
point.
contrast Andor, and when we start off on Andor, he's like us eating Doritos out of a vending machine,
Going
just
to
being a
strippers.
fucking shithead, going looking for a sister, looking for a sister.
Yeah, but
Good
Bix was like,
excuse.
clearly he's Bix is like, he's a ladies' man. Let's be honest. He's even
Do
said,
you
you fuck
think
around.
he just like goes around, like walks in? Oh, strip club. Wonder if my sister's in there.
Yeah, I'm looking for my sister.
Oh,
Such a
hey,
that's a Filoni move.
my sister in here. Just all the time. No, but I mean, but yeah, you end up with somebody who like fucking goes to prison and ends up
Oh
on
no, how'd you know I do that, Jason? Every time I go to Cheetahs, I'm like, is my sister in here? Look at all spots.
my sister in here.
Oh, maybe she in the back on that little sofa I can sit down there.
Yeah. No, I would.
I love
mean,
Cheetahs.
but
They
no,
have a good breakfast.
but I mean, it's true, and it's like, but to be real, everything can't be Andor, but they need to find a kind of a happy medium between what Andor was and what Mando 3 was. You know what I mean? Like somewhere kind of in that vein. Jonesy says, "Where's my 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith?" If we ever get to see that 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith, we're going to see a bunch of like green screen with like people like moving in blocks and stuff, and it would probably be a hard watch. It would be, in my opinion. Like when you look back at the Phantom Menace, when they decided to do at the heyday of DVD, when they decided to finish the unfinished scenes, you could see what it took, like what those visual effects were. They're not good, not done very well either.
I could tell you, we used to call it DVD's nuts.
Oh, good one, George. That's a good one, George. Yeah. I mean, which is a play on CDs. CDs what? CDs nuts. But
it's like poetry. It rhymes, right? Good job.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But
only thing I want to see is the original Clone Wars opening. If they could like make that all done and replace the opening with that the way it originally was, I would be interested in that. Because I'm not a fan of the opening of Revenge of
yeah,
Sith.
they never would,
Slow
because then the rest of the movie doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like with it.
Well, it doesn't really make any sense now anyway. So yeah.
Well, no, it makes sense. I mean, you're starting to see the start and the end. Start and the end. It's not that. But no, in reality though, like the actual sequence you're talking about, if it was like completed and like just shown for what it was, it would be, people would just be confused. The Revenge of the Sith.
No, because I think you would see, it would make the ending where they all die make more sense, because you'd at least see them in the beginning. They're spread out across the galaxy, and
it was mostly those scenes though. It was mostly those like bits.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like I would show the galaxy at war and then cut to Coruscant, and then at the end, like that's the thing that makes the most sense.
Yeah,
but whatever.
So he says, yeah, he says, we'll take this one and then we'll go. Very, very true. I want the characters to go through real conflict, not something that gets resolved by next episode. I want to see a real arc, one that affects them deeply to do good, bad. Yeah,
and they've played out the confidence arc in Mando with this season. We got to stop with confidence.
Star Wars
there's other
has
things
played
to do.
It out in general.
Yeah, I'm done with
much.
Star Wars and confidence arcs. You know.
No, it has, and and I'm okay with there being that, like the bits of here's your training and that do the training all the time, like that's fine, like that's a part of the DNA of it, but that shouldn't be a feature. That's like a given. That's not.
They made the sequel trilogy. Is Rey important or not? Like, I just don't want to. I'm just done with it. I'm done with. It's not important. It's not interesting at all to me.
Yeah.
At this point.
Well, no, it's we've had a lot of that in the last couple of years, and it is like the places. I don't think they're pop places that are left to go with Mando, but the real stuff is like, oh, when you're bounty hunting and like morality in that, and there's concepts and themes and ideas there. And like, how does he move forward with that kind of stuff? But I don't think that's also where you take a show at that level. I don't think that's what the audience.
The thing they missed out on in my opinion, I think the opportunity they missed out on, and they could do it now, but it would feel weird to folks, is there was room for a 24 episode, more procedural show where he was doing more bounty hunting stuff.
Yeah.
And the story driven stuff was, sporadically thrown out. Some people would call those filler episodes, but I disagree. I'm like, if you get to spend time being a bounty hunter, then you'll want to be a bounty hunter. Now we just tell people they're bounty hunters.
When they doubled up with Boba, that's what they should have done with it, was use Boba to get to the bounty hunting and let him move out of bounty hunting and just, Yeah, that was the right answer. Still hoping they course correct on that, but I am not holding my breath on there being any more of that.
The problem, Jason, is fans want a 10-hour movie. That's what they want. They want a 10-hour movie, and that doesn't work. There's no such thing as a 10-hour movie. You're not going to sit for a 10-hour movie. If you cut a 10-hour film, even Stranger Things, the last season was not a It was continuous, but it was complete in its own little sections. You could have split those up against 4 different years, and it would have worked out. But one long movie, it's just like, it doesn't work. So, you need to spend time with the characters doing the things that they're doing so that you can appreciate why they're there. At this point, we mostly just get the characters got to move on to here to save the thing and make this other thing important. And then we got to move over here to make that thing important. And I don't know why the characters we're following are important at some point, other than they're the name of the show, and that's a little odd.
There's this like paralysis by analysis kind of thing that goes on, or, where you just have like people are too important to do anything with them. And it's like, you don't want people just dying all the time and not mattering, but it's like, because they like, the problem with the whole season is that they're moving towards the film. And then the problem is that they have this heavy lifting to do in the film, but they had no finesse to do it. There was no finessing it. Like the whole arc with the scientists eating ice cream and shit is proof that there's no finesse. They don't have it.
Right.
They just don't. And so I like I said, that next story arc appears like it's gonna probably be Mando goes back to bounty hunting, and he thinks he's going after the small fish, which are just the stormtroopers with his apprentice. And then Thrawn's back, and those small fish are now fucking huge whales and sharks, and he's in over his head now. And then here he is. Now he has to join the central conflict to destroy
the help of his friends,
the evil. Yeah, well, the evil, or he's fucked. And so he and the republics interests now align, and that's when you get down to it, that's probably going to be.
And then he becomes the Ranger of the New Republic.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Whole new series.
And then at the end he gets his little Imperial single teardrop tattoo, like he's been in prison, like Cara Dune had. Remember that shit?
His knuckles say no force. Like
as she says, Rob, Clone Wars kids are loving their 6-hour Revenge of the Sith cut. They don't care. They just want the longest runtime. And that's where I'm at with it. Like what Rob wants is he wants the Clone Wars cartoon, but he won't watch the good stuff. He only saw the bad stuff, and now he won't watch the good stuff that has that stuff.
Should have been in the movies.
I know, but it wasn't. And now, but they've rectified it. Rob,
I'm out.
Sometimes they do it. Rob, you're never out.
Had they hand animated it, maybe I would have watched it, but I don't really care for the animation.
Hand animated. Nobody wants a handy in these days. Come on, what is this? 8th grade? A handy? Are you serious? All right. Anyways,
attack on my hand.
Okay. I'm gonna give, based off of this comment, I'm gonna give my last hot take, and then we're gonna go. Season 4 should have kept Gideon in prison. Okay, so my hot take is Gideon, when he gets that armor, is pretty fucking rad. Underused, not done well. What they should have done was they should have had that guy that costume should have been an ally of Gideon. Then we should have had Gideon and that new character, and we should have just saw the bad guys exponentially growing instead of Esposito, who was already effective and fun, becoming something cooler and then just fucking getting wiped off of the whole fucking thing for the most part. Now, I don't believe he's dead, but I also think that whatever little thing that they do where he's not dead is going to be like a sad, wah, 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 trombone about it. So
Yeah, he's
what I
not
would've
a
done.
legitimate threat. He's kind of a goof villain at this point, and this is
Yeah,
just a crime, in my opinion, considering the level of talent of Giancarlo Esposito. You know?
yeah. The problem is that he's the talent, and the talent in the writing just for him isn't there. They don't know how to write
Yeah.
for an Esposito. They don't. I don't know if they ever are. And it's fine as long as they stay in their lane. The problem is when you get an Esposito, you think, oh, they're going in this other lane. They're not though. They didn't. And you know, it's like there's like things like if it was a movie, like when you get fucking Peter Cushing to be Tarkin, realistically, that was underused. Not used. It could have been used a lot better. Tarkin, if you want to be critical of A New Hope, Peter Cushing in that. And but at the
Sure.
same time, like it's like so it doesn't really hurt to overcast.
Then you see the
other
prequels
way.
and you realize how more underused he could be.
Yeah.
You think he was underused before? Just wait till you see the prequels.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, and that like so it's like and that thing. So it's like I don't necessarily like not mad about it, but when it's a TV show, that's when you're like, well, you do have the time and the ability to explore.
I'll tell you
this.
when I get mad about it. When the only interesting part of Rogue Planet was Tarkin. You're like, that actually was pretty decent. Like if you compared to what we're getting in Star Wars books today, the Tarkin bits with Rey Sinai were actually pretty good. The
Yeah,
whole rest of the book was fucking dog shit.
yeah. Well, anyways, everybody, we're gonna call it here. Thank you to everybody for being a channel member, for the super chats today. It's super appreciated. I started I just started a new program in school for a new thing I'm going to be doing. So the support helps a lot because I need it.
Vending machine.
But, so thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll be back Monday. If anything huge hits over the weekend for some chance, I doubt it will, but if it does, I'll hop back on and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, I'll see everybody Monday. And thanks for hanging out with us, and have a good weekend and all that jazz. You got anything to say before we go, Rob?
No.
First time. All right.
You want
Bye,
some
Rob.
more Yo Mando so fat jokes?
No.
I got a few more. What? Did I tell you Yo Mando's so stupid he thought the capital of Mandalore was a letter M? Did I tell you that one?
Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.